You know, when we think of Abraham and Sarah, we usually picture this story of faith, of family, and this big, grand promise. But what if the version we all know is missing half the story? What if it's missing the most important part? What if their entire journey wasn't just about one man's incredible faith, but was actually a mystical, totally balanced partnership? A shared quest with, like, cosmic implications, where Sarah's role wasn't just supportive, it was just as powerful and vital as Abraham's. So let's dive into that. We're going to look at a source that presents them not just as husband and wife, but as a priest and a priestess, true partners on a divine mission. And trust me, this isn't just some small change. It completely reframes everything, from their biggest trials to their final incredible legacy. Okay, so our story kicks off not with some act of blind faith, but with this brilliant, sharp-witted defiance. Picture this. We're in Ur, a city that's all about idols. And Abram's own dad is one of the best idol makers around. But Abram, he's just not buying it. And just listen to his logic here. It's amazing. He's telling his father, look, fire burns our wooden idols. Water wears away the stone ones. We control fire and water. So how on earth can we worship something that's so clearly less powerful than we are? This isn't just doubt, you guys. This is a full-blown spiritual revolution happening in his head. So that's the setup, right? Abram is a total spiritual outsider in his own house. And right there with him is Sarai, and they're carrying this deep, private pain together. They can't have children. That shared struggle, that emptiness, it actually becomes the very thing their journey is built on, when that divine voice tells them to just leave it all behind and start over. And it's so important to notice the name being used for God here. This is not some generic title like God. It's a sacred, personal name. Abram is basically rejecting the mass-produced, impersonal idols of his family for a direct, one-on-one relationship with the source of everything. So they set out, and their new path almost immediately throws them into these dangerous foreign lands. We're talking Egypt, Gerar, where they face some intense life-or-death trials. But this text sees these moments very differently. They aren't just random bad luck. They're purposeful tests, specifically designed to forge their partnership. And this brings us to one of those parts of the story that can be really tough to read. The text says that Abraham claimed Sarah was his sister for a wise purpose unto Yahweh. So this completely reframes the act. It suggests there was some kind of hidden, divine plan at work that they had to navigate together. It was a joint strategy, where Sarah's incredible courage was every bit as crucial as Abraham's faith. This also helps us wrap our heads around the family's complex structure. As you can see here, while Hagar and Terah are absolutely acknowledged as wives within the covenant, Sarah holds this unique, supreme position. She is the high priestess, and that means her son, Isaac, is the one and only heir of this central divine covenant they're building. This shared journey, though, all these trials, it's about to level up, big time. Their partnership is about to become something formal, something official, something divine. Right after a huge battle, this incredibly mysterious figure shows up out of nowhere, Melchizedek. He's the king of Salem and a high priest. And this meeting, it's not just a casual blessing, it's an ordination. He is the one who pulls back the curtain and reveals the true cosmic scope of their shared destiny. Okay, you have to get how radical this quote is. Notice who Melchizedek is talking to. He addresses Sarah first, calling her a priestess, and then he establishes a patriarchal and matriarchal priesthood. That means divine authority flows through both of them equally. Their legacy isn't just coming from a father, it is a joint spiritual inheritance. And this new status gets sealed with new names. Abram, which means exalted father, becomes Abraham, father of nations. Sarai, my princess, becomes Sarah, mother of nations. Do you see? Their very identities just exploded from being personal titles to reflecting a global shared mission. So this new and everlasting covenant they receive, you can think of it like a divine constitution. And its whole purpose is to establish their royal priesthood, a lineage whose job is to heal a broken world. This idea of repairing and completing creation is actually a core concept in Jewish mysticism, known as tikkun olam. It's a huge deal. And now we arrive at the most harrowing test of them all, the binding of Isaac. But just like with the other trials,
This text gives us a profound and, frankly, startling reinterpretation of what really happened on that mountain.
Wow, this is extraordinary. According to this text, it is Sarah who initiates the whole journey. She's not some passive, grieving mother watching her son get taken away. No, she is a high priestess, sending him for his initiation. She literally tells Abraham it's time for Isaac to learn the mysteries, which completely reframes this event as a planned spiritual ascension.
But Isaac's innocent, absolutely heart-wrenching question is still there. That tension is real. Abraham is still walking up that mountain toward an altar with his son, a knife in his hand, filled with this terrible sorrow because he has completely misunderstood the assignment.
And then the climax that changes everything. The angel reveals the truth. At no time did I say that thou shouldst slay thy son. The command was never actually given. It was Abraham's own fear projecting what he thought God must want. The test wasn't about his obedience to kill. It was a test to see if his faith could conquer his own worst fears. So in this light, the binding of Isaac is completely redefined. It becomes a symbolic prophecy, a similitude, pointing to a future sacrifice. And it's the final, purifying test of the powerful partnership he and Sarah had built together. The point was always about devotion, never about destruction. And in the final chapter of her life, this source material elevates Sarah to a status you almost never see in ancient texts, cementing her legacy as this eternal, powerful matriarch. The text even gets specific. It quantifies her spiritual achievement. At the time of her death, we're told Sarah reached the 127th degree. This whole idea of spiritual degrees paints this picture of a clear path of ascension, like a ladder of progress that she climbed to an incredible, incredible height. And this is her final tribute. The text doesn't just call her a wife or a mother. She is the high priestess, a great matriarch, a sister in wisdom. But that last title is the most profound of all. She walked the earth as one with the Shekinah.
So what is the Shekinah? In Jewish mysticism, it's the divine feminine presence of God, the actual, tangible glory of God that dwells here with us. To say Sarah was one with the Shekinah is to say she became a living, breathing embodiment of the divine presence on earth. It is the ultimate fulfillment of her role as matriarch and as priestess. And so that's what we're left with. This text gives us this radical vision of partnership, a shared path to the divine. It asks us to look again at these ancient stories, not as tales of lone heroes, but maybe as blueprints for spiritual partnership. So the real question is, how does seeing Scripture as a shared journey change what it all means for you?